What's up guys, Jake Lowry here, and today we are very excited because we're going to be testing out a one-of-a-kind lure from 6th Sense that I think is going to be a complete game changer for bass fishing in ponds, and not only in ponds, but just in general, guys. We're gonna take a look at that lure pretty shortly, but one of the reasons that I'm excited to fish today is because we're at one of the spots that I think holds a lot of numbers of bass, which excites me because we have been grinding recently, guys. We have been fishing big swim baits and big bodies of water and not really catching a whole lot of fish. So coming back to the roots to throw a bait that's just a little smaller and potentially hook a bunch of numbers today really gets me excited. Now, that said, we still have odds to catch a big fish today. One of the biggest fish that I've ever caught in Texas, I caught on a very small little swim bait, similar to what we're going to be throwing today. And the fact that this thing has an action that fish have never seen before leads me to believe that if there's a big fish in this body of water, it's probably going to be willing to hook into one of these things. Now, that said, we are at a lake that we fish quite a bit. It is a 4 to 5 acre lake right behind me. This thing is loaded with bass. The water is ultra clear, even though it's been raining for the past 3 days or 4 days. So these fish are generally shallow this time of year. We can generally spot them from the bank or the kayak, so it's going to be really fun to be throwing this at the fish and hopefully hooking into a lot of fish today and hopefully hooking into some big fish today. Why don't we take a look at the lure we're going to be testing out today, and then we're going to get it rigged up, and hopefully in not too long we are catching some nice sized Texas largemouth. The lure we're going to be testing out today is the 6th Sense Strobe Minnow. This is a brand new lure from 6th Sense, and what makes this thing interesting is it has a bill like a crankbait. Now, this is a soft plastic lure, right? That's 3.3 inches long with a nice tail that gives it a lot of action with a bill. So this thing is going to have some insane action for a little soft plastic lure. That's a lot different than a paddle tail lure, which is what these fish behind me are used to seeing. So having that action be triggered in the front of the bait might give us just a subtle change to hook into a ton of fish, guys. I'm gonna take this thing out of the package and we're gonna see what this thing looks like right away. But overall, guys, this thing looks like it's absolutely insane. So there she is out of the package. This bill is actually super aggressive for the size of the lure. It has a pretty wide body and that tail just has so much action to go along with it. Again, with the 6th Sense plastics, the detail on these things are actually insane with the paint and then the colors of the body. So I am very excited to try this thing. I also have another size that I purchased in a white color that hopefully will help us catch maybe some bigger fish, or if this thing is too small for those fish to see, we might be able to test out that size as well. So why don't I grab that and see what we got going on. So this is the Strobe in 4.0 size. This thing looks even better than the other size. One thing I will note though is relative to the size of the smaller one, the bill isn't as big. So maybe the action is just slightly more subtle, but this thing looks absolutely amazing, guys. I have these VMC tungsten head swim jig heads. Then these things look super high quality, and they better be because they came in at $12.99, which is a crazy high price for 2 hooks when you could just buy a lead one for like less than 10 cents, guys. Okay, so there is the minnow all rigged up. This thing looks so money, guys. It looks like it's gonna have so much action, and really once you get that jig head on here, it really shows that, hey man, that tail is going to move a ton. Why don't I get this rigged up? I'm going to use my spinning rod today. The reason being is these things are pretty small and light, and hopefully in not too long, maybe even while we're testing out the action of this thing in the body of water behind me, we might potentially hook into a fish right away, guys. Or I could just be completely capping and we get skunked today. So why don't we get the lures rigged up and why don't we test out the action of this larger one and see if maybe we can catch a giant fish. All right, guys, I have my 6th Sense lure rigged up on my spinning rod right here. We're gonna test out the action of this thing and get a first cast right in front of me. The water's super clear, so I think we'll be able to get a really good impression of the action. Okay, right off the bat, I think my swim jig or my jig head might be a little too heavy, but the action looks just insane, guys. Essentially what happens is because you're retrieving from this point right here, this stays static, but that lip right there sends like a vibration through the swim bait, and this tail just has a crazy action that is super, super subtle, which is a lot different than stuff that I've used in the past where the tail action is like very, very strong and can potentially even spook fish away from biting. Now we're looking at just a very, very subtle tail action that probably is going to hook into some big fish, guys. Now, the only other thing that I really noticed that's different about this lure than, say, your typical swim bait is the 6th Sense quality of the colors is very, very high. This is essentially the same color as your panorama shad, and it has a very fluorescent white with that silver belly, and it just looks super good in the water, especially if you're trying to go for like a white color of swim bait. So overall, I think this thing works slightly better with a little lighter of a jig head. I do have a 1/4 ounce jig head on this thing, so maybe in some deeper water, that's the color we're going to be wanting, or the weight we're going to be wanting to go with. But right now in the shallow water, I think it's just a little too heavy. But again, we're gonna get out into like 15 to 20 feet of water today in the late springtime conditions in Texas. So they're probably gonna be deep, and they're probably going to be wanting to bite and eat some of these little more subtle presentations. All right, guys, now that we've tested the action of this thing, why don't we go launch the kayak, and we're gonna go all the way around this pond and see if we can't potentially hook into a bunch of fish today. Once that sun starts to come up, these fish are gonna be able to see this lure just a little better. And I think it's gonna be not too long until we start hooking fish, guys. So why don't we get the kayak out, and why don't we start fishing with hopes of potentially hooking into a lot of fish today. Ooh, that water feels warm, guys. Man, does that feel good. We get these random chilly mornings in Texas that I don't really understand. It's like May. It's done being cold in Texas. Why is it cold? It's probably because that rain we had this week. So I don't know if this water is gonna be goofed up or if it's going to be good fishing today. But we are out here, we are exploring, and I am very thoroughly excited. All right, and we are fully prepared for the morning. So strategy today, I think the fish are going to be shallow, and I usually go to the deeper bank in this body of water, but for some reason I feel like that's not going to work today. So I'm going to go move over and up to what I think is a just slightly better odds of hooking into a fish. Surprised how windy it is, actually. That was not in the plan for the morning so far. Something that's kind of cool with these smaller swim baits too is I do have the opportunity to hook into like crappie and things along those lines, which if I do hook into a crappie, that would be just an absolutely loads of fun. So pretty much all out in front of me, there is just an absolutely ton of grass, and it gets shallow and flat, and the fishing just isn't as good. But right to my left here is where this grass line starts. So I'm gonna do myself a favor and start right where that grass starts. And we're just gonna go down this bank. Let's get this rod out and see if we can't hook into something pretty quickly. Now I did like shortly pull this through some grass, and it does okay through the grass. That big bill does help it pull through grass without hooking it, but it also does hook the grass. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword right there. And again, I am slightly concerned about the weight of the jig head that I have tied on right now. It might just be too heavy, and then I have to fish this thing just a little too fast, which is probably not a great thing in this pond. I could tell you one thing, in some deep, deep water, I could see how you would want just a lot of weight, especially if there's wind or waves. But in this shallow water, I probably want to go lighter. Probably the lighter the better. One thing that's pretty funny about this spot is it's actually a local like swimming hole, which has just really good fishing in it. So generally in the summertime, I think it's Memorial Day, but it might be soon. Okay, definitely got my first bite on this thing. See if he'll come back. Yep, there he is. Let's go. Nice, guys. Quick release right there. And that is the first fish on the brand new 6 cents lure with that bill, man. That thing just looks absolutely amazing, guys. And to be on the board that quickly is an amazing sign for the day. That fish hit it twice. He wasn't giant, but you know, quick release is a quick release. Why don't we get it casted back out in that similar spot and see if we can't maybe get fish number 2. Oh, I hope this is one of those days where we just start getting bit. Man, I'm due for one of those days, like extremely badly. I don't know what it is, but sometimes it can be tough. As I've kind of progressed as a fisherman, I have really slowly taken towards using 6 cents fishing lures, to be quite frank, guys. A lot of the lures that they've been coming out with more recently have just been super high quality. I mean, I caught my PB on a 6 cents lure. This brand new lure is just very innovative, and I don't get the impression that 6 cents is like a sellout company where they're just trying to make as much profit as they can. Like a company like Mystery Tackle Box, you know, when you get a Mystery Tackle Box that is complete junk, it just makes it a little more challenging to support that kind of company versus a company like 6 cents, where I see a lot of high quality lures coming out to the market. Now they do have their qualms. That hangover shad they could definitely improve on their marketing for, right? It's not advertised, I think, the way that it needs to be fished, because it does need to get fished in a specific way. But if you take that out of account, I'm probably more often than not gonna pick the 6 cents lure in the store. Now that it's, oh. Just got bit right here. Maybe I need to put on that smaller one. If I don't catch a fish in like 5-10 minutes, I'm gonna put on that less weight jig head and see if that might make a difference with our fishing success today. Because so far it's like, I caught a fish, but the speed at which I have to, oh my gosh, I was stuck. Oh, lost it, man. He doinked it right at that log. See if he'll come back. See if we get maybe a second one. Man, I wonder if they're just right on the bank today. There he is, came back. Oh. Oh, okay, guys. I think I need to put on that smaller one. These fish are pretty small. See if I get 3 bites for 3 casts. Come on. Nope, grass. All right, I think that tells me to put on a smaller one and see if maybe that'll help us hook a couple more fish this morning. Let's grab this thing out. This thing is 0.7 inches shorter, so hopefully that'll help us out. And again, I'm going from a 1/4 ounce to an 1/8 ounce jig head, so that also might do us just a little better. These jig heads from VMC are super high quality. Make me feel really good. I think this smaller one too, because the bill is bigger with respect to the body of the lure, might actually have more action, or might have more action with respect to the size of the body of the lure. But there she is with a smaller jig head. I think this might actually help us out a little more to get some of those smaller fish to bite and actually commit to the lure, because I think we were getting a lot of short strikes on the bigger one. Probably time for some shades. Sun's coming out. Oh, got a bite right away. Maybe they like that sun side of the lake right now. Just kind of slowly. Come on. Usually get bit back in this corner here. Oh, that was so sick. That was really sick, guys. I don't know if you could see that on the GoPro, but there was a fish following this thing in. See if he'll come back. See if we can get it by that pole. There he is, right on that structure. That is a dink and a half. There are so many little dinks in this pond, it's hilarious. First fish boated is maybe 6 inches long. That is funny. Get this thing back in order. All right, right on that structure, guys. Sitting right on that pole. Yeah? No. Do I need to be?
You can't fish in here. This is a private lake. You can bank fish, but no boats.
No boats?
No boats.
Okay.
All right, thank you. You need to take it out.
I am. No boats. Oh, that's a shame. I'll explain. So I met the people that used to own this lake, and I think the ownership has recently changed, and they sold the property, and this lake was like an easement that they just let people fish on. That was public property, which, okay, that's fine, and appreciative of that. But recently, I guess they sold the land, and then now you can't fish from a boat. You can fish from the bank, I guess, is what the owner of the land is saying. So I'm not really sure if there's any like rules or regulations at the spot. I just know that it is private property and owned by someone, but because they have that little swimming area, they just let people come and fish. Now that said, with these new owners, that might change, which kind of sucks because this is a lot of fun of a spot to go to. And, you know, especially in Texas, there's quite a bit of access problems. Access is like a major issue in this state, especially for hunters and anglers, which is good because, you know, you want people to have their private property rights, but also like you want to support access for people to come do the things that they want to do. So there's like a double-edged sword there. So that said, after that little rant of getting kicked out of the spot, I guess we're just gonna have to take it on foot and see if we can't potentially hook into some more fish this morning. I don't think that's gonna stop us from catching anything. There it is. Nice, guys. That's a nicer fish than the first one too. They could kick us off the kayak, but they can't stop us from catching fish, guys. That feels good. Fish number 2 of the morning, right off that little structure. They're on the wood pretty heavily. So if I can find structure here, guys, there he is. Get that guy back. If I can find the structure, I can find the bass. That's pretty much the name of the game today, I think, which is fun because fishing structure is one of the most fun ways to catch fish because it's more like hunting, right? Versus kind of just randomly casting in a certain depth of water or anything like that. So I bet you that we hook something on this little dock here, and then there's a couple more spots further down this way that I know of that have some structure. So let's go. Fish number 2. Wonder if the dock is private property. Casting right in. Oh, there he is. Ooh, that's a nicer fish. That is a nicer fish than what we're used to catching out of here. Come on in. Come on in. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, he's going under the dock. Whew. Let's go. That's probably gonna be the biggest fish of the day. This 6th Sense thing, guys, really works well. I keep forgetting what it's called. It's like the swerve, the strobe shaker. This strobe shaker from 6th Sense, man, we're starting to catch him on it very quickly, which is a very positive plus. And to be honest, guys, strobe shaker from the bank and not with live scope is a legitimate strategy to catch some big fish. Let's see if we can't catch another one. And each fish we've caught this morning has gotten bigger. Maybe we can continue that pattern and eventually hook into a nice fish. All right, guys, that is going to wrap up the video. Unfortunately, we didn't catch any big fish today, but we caught a lot of small fish, which was a ton of fun and part of the plan. That 6th Sense strobe shad lure is actually a really solid choice. So probably going to be adding that one to my tackle box. And again, I think that is one of those more innovative lures that came out within the past year. But that said, guys, if you like this video, make sure you like the video, subscribe if you haven't, and I'm going to catch you guys next time.